Welcome, everyone, to what I suppose you would call a podcast without a home. Many of you probably don't know that I am a podcaster, or that my favorite types of content to create and also to consume are podcasts, but this is something that I've been doing consistently for the past 2+ years on my Lego channel in a series called Missing Pieces. And it was a Lego podcast by name only. It's where I shared my life, Lego, and anything else that was on my mind. And it just so happened to be that about 95% of that podcast was me just talking about my life and things that you would most likely see on this channel, things that we're doing and life experiences. And as time went by, I decided that maybe it would be better to not have that as a part of my Lego channel because it really wasn't what the audience over there wanted necessarily. Sure, a lot of people would watch our Lego channel for the Lego, and then they would stay for the personality behind it and like the personal nature of it. And that's what I really love, but it never really fit over there. So at the end of 2021, I decided that I would break this off and I would make a series that's just a regular video called My Week in Lego, where it would cover the Lego stuff. It's the stuff that people actually want, and I've done one episode of that so far, and it's done really well, much better than any podcasts that I've done over there. But there was always this calling for me to do what I'm doing right now. I love to do this. And I thought, why don't I bring this over to Greg's World? After a lot of debate on what I should do, should I make this an audio-only thing, which it is available in audio format if you want to use one of the links down below. I think I can link it. I think I'm going to put this in the Missing Pieces feed. So as of right now, this is still titled Missing Pieces, but the name is up in the air. But for me, it really doesn't matter what this is called. It's what it is. You know, this is my creation, and whether it's called Missing Pieces or Greg's podcast or Greg's audio journal, which were like, I guess, all names that I've considered, this is still the content that I want to make. And I think there's a group of people that want to listen to this. I would say Missing Pieces consistently got about 2,000 viewers or listeners a week, maybe slightly more when you factor in all the people that are listening to just the audio version, which is pretty good. Like, that's good by podcasting standards. But I think there's an audience here that probably would really love to hear what I have to talk about, because this is the reason you subscribe to this channel. All the stuff that I'll be discussing throughout this series, however long this goes, most likely for the rest of my life, this is all the stuff that people came to this channel for in most cases. I know there's a lot of kids that watch our channel that are here for probably like the toy stuff, the RC stuff, and of course there's always going to be that. But there's this other element to Greg's World that existed before Clark came along and will exist long after Clark Man moves out of our house, and that's my video journal. That's what this whole thing is. This is a time capsule of sorts where I document all the things that are happening in my life, and someday I can look back on those. And I've done that so many times over the years, to look back on memories that were long forgotten, that I can go back and feel like I'm there through the videos, and it's incredible. So this podcast really always should have been here on Greg's World, but it was created at a time that there was no comments on this channel. I really felt disconnected with the audience because all it was just us putting content out, and then there was no way for you to get back with us. Thankfully, YouTube rectified that issue, and now we're kind of getting back into that slowly. And I think it's just a good time to make this move. So what you can expect from this podcast is every single week I'm going to sit down here and I'm going to talk about my life and all the things that are going on in it. And if that's something that you're interested in, I'm happy to have you here. This is free to listen to, of course. I don't put ads in the middle of this to break it up. I just want this to be like a place that is just for us to hang out. So I think there's probably, and I'm not going to rule the kids out because I've had many kids listen to Missing Pieces and they love it. A lot of them think that it's too boring, of course, because it is a long form piece of content where we're just sitting down and having this conversation here. But I think that there's a lot of parents out there, and I've heard from parents that watch the videos with their kids together. I think you're really going to enjoy this. At least I hope so. I can't make any assumptions on you, but man, I love this kind of stuff. The people that I can find in the world that make journal-like content each week, that they put it out to the world and I can listen to it while I'm walking or doing anything around the house, I just really appreciate that. Which, speaking of, let's talk about something that I started doing recently that is going to be a big focus for me in 2022. This episode was, I guess, ideally going to be talking about my goals, which I haven't really written down formally, but I know where I want to go and I know what I need to do to get there. And my number one goal for this year, or I guess the theme of this year, is going to be self-improvement. Self-improvement and learning is what I want to do. The past several years, I've put in such a focus on my business and video making, which are one and the same, that I've neglected other parts of my life. Like every day was, how do I make a video for all of my channels? How do I make a live stream? How do I get all of this stuff done in the limited time that I have to do it in? And it took a lot of my energy and a lot of the everything that I have, whether it be mentally or physically, to do all of those things. And I'm not not complaining about this. I'm doing exactly what I love. And it really takes some restraint on my part to stop doing this at a certain time every day, which happens to be when the family gets home. Because there was a time in my life, and if you go back through the archives of missing pieces, there was times where I was way out of balance. And that's something that I've always struggled with. Like if I didn't have a family, I would probably be doing this like 16 hours a day, maybe more. Like it would be nothing but video creation. I'd be streaming. I'd be doing like stuff just to the absolute max. And I'm still kind of there, but I'm trying to change that a little bit, because one thing that I've neglected in all of this focus on making videos and sharing all of this stuff is my physical health, and maybe even my mental health somewhat too. But this year I've decided, after putting on quite a few pounds over the last few years. I remember when I left my job, I was really like busy there and stressed. I was like at a really good weight and I felt just great about myself. And then coming home with Clark, man, there was no schedule. So if like he would eat, I would eat too. And what he didn't finish with his food, I would finish for him. And over time, I feel like I've kind of developed I guess maybe like an addiction to food, because I have a very addictive personality as it is. I could get addicted to literally anything. I'm trying to change those addictions to something positive, which we'll talk about here in the moment. But, whatever I do, I go all in on. And oftentimes for me, like it's about comfort as well. So at nighttime, if we're watching TV, I'll snack, because I always need to be doing something. I just can't sit, I just can't sit here and be at peace. I have to be like, oh, what am I going to fidget with? Or, I'm going to stuff my face with potato chips and stuff like that. So, excuse me. Get a drink of water here, if you don't mind. I don't edit these videos, by the way. Hope that's okay with you. If it isn't, you probably already left if it's not. But anyways, it's this year I've decided that I really need to start focusing on my health. It needs to come before all the video work. It needs to come before everything. And that's what's happened this week. I'm recording this right now. It's January 6th, Thursday at 1:22 p.m. I like it when people include the time. Like, you can think about what you were doing when I recorded this and where you were, but that gives us kind of like an idea of where we're at. We just wrapped up on Christmas. I took most of Christmas off in terms of like producing content. I had some videos that I had already recorded, and I still do, that I need to upload. But there was some content that came out. I took the Lego channel off entirely and just spent the time with my family, and I loved it. Now, going into January, after Clark's birthday, which has been recorded, I don't know if you would have seen the video yet, because I'm still like behind. I don't know how I'm ever going to get caught up, although I think I will, because I haven't recorded much this week either. I don't necessarily feel called to document every day of my life and the things I'm doing. I want my videos to have a purpose. And I've done that on my Lego channel. And I know this isn't missing pieces, but it is a part of my life, so I'll discuss it. I'm making every video over there, and I'm not uploading because it's Thursday, for example. I'm uploading because I have something to share and something meaningful to put out to the world. And I think in the long run, going for quality over quantity is going to be the thing that really gets me to where I want to be. Instead of making 7 mediocre videos a week, why not make 3 videos that you're just like super proud of? And does it really matter that you're not there every single day? I notice some people like getting on YouTube as a routine and seeing what someone's doing, especially if they're their favorite creator, is really meaningful. But it's also important to think about what really matters. And for me, family and health. And the health thing is just, it's where I need to focus. So this week, every single day now, I have gotten on our elliptical. I actually made a video the first day, which it's very embarrassing because I was just super real, and I explained like kind of what I'm explaining now and showed some of the benchmarks where I was at in terms of fitness and my weight and everything. But spoiler alert, I have about 25 to 30 pounds that I want to lose to get into my like peak physical state. That with also gaining some muscle as well. So this week, every single day, I've made a point of getting on our elliptical for 30 minutes every single day with some intensity and some incline, and also doing various strength exercises, I suppose, using all the equipment that Cody has in our office. We've lived in this house for 2 years. I have really only gone in there a few times, and now that's about to change. So I've been doing that every single day. Also, I've been taking Roxy for a walk every day. I try to walk her for about 45 minutes before I pick Clarkman up. So we leave early and then I go walk her and I bring her back. And I just think that's doing such amazing things for me. Like every day I wake up, and even right now, like my abs are very sore right now, but I kind of love that feeling. I feel like the muscles are getting broken down and they're going to build up stronger. And I think this could be my next addiction. And I know like throwing the word addiction out there is a scary thing, right? But this is something that I think if I put my time, effort, and energy into in the same way that I put it into YouTube, I think I could have dramatic results in the same way as well. I'm fairly confident in myself, and I don't say this to boast or brag or anything like that, but I truly believe, and I believe this for you too, if you really want something and you're willing to work as hard as you need to work to get to it, you're going to be successful in it. I've proven that time and time again in my life. Some of it may be luck, but I think you make your own luck in many cases. I think showing up is the most important thing. Even with this podcast, there's been days where I didn't want to record episodes of this in the past. But every time that I force myself to sit down, turn this camera on, hit the record button, every time I leave here feeling better, oftentimes because this is like free therapy. I just sit here and I talk to you like you're my therapist without much, feedback. It's mostly just me kind of venting. Although venting, I think has like a negative connotation, but you're just letting off steam or whatever. And this is really good for me. So if you are watching this or listening to this for the first time, I'm honored that you're here. If you've made it this far into it, now that we're like over 10 minutes in, that's impressive. But that is my big goal for this year, is to be physically fit, to end this year in just a great state is where I want to be. And I know I can get to that. Also, in addition to that, not only with my physical health, like that's one aspect of your well-being. I also want to do a lot of learning. I want to read new books. I want to get new thoughts in my brain because it's like a lonely place up here. My mind works in a way where I go through things over and over and over again. I wouldn't consider it like obsessive compulsive or anything like that. It like doesn't impact my life at all, but I'll have like the same themes running through. And that's another area where this podcast allows me just to kind of let that out so I can move on to like the next thing to have in there. And it'd be nice to have other people's ideas running through my brain as well, which is another reason that I love podcasts. If anything, you're going to leave this. If you've never watched a podcast before or listened to one, they're mostly audio. They're available on like Apple Podcasts. It used to be called iTunes. Apple Podcasts or Spotify is where everyone pretty much listens to this. And you can go there and find a wealth of podcasts and whatever topic you're interested in, very much like YouTube. But it's nice to kind of get in here and just kind of let that out, and I need this in my life. So I'm excited about this. I'm excited to move this over here. I debated whether to put this onto another channel, separate channel, make it audio only. But I think for right now, this works. And if it doesn't, someday I'll just make this a private video or whatever, and that's fine. I don't know what the response is going to be. And frankly, I don't really care. But back to my goals. I'm kind of going between, like, I guess in my mind right now, I'm thinking like, will anyone want to see this or does anyone care? And I think there's a lot of overlap, so we'll just put that behind us. Stay out of your head, Greg. Thank you, therapists. I appreciate that. Just do your thing. Do your thing. Your audience will find you. I've always firmly believed in that I've seen people cater to certain people in their YouTube demographics or whatever. Like let's say I have a lot of people that love Thomas watching my channel, which I do because they find it's for Thomas videos. Some people would do nothing but make Thomas videos. It's like, okay, that's working and that's what we're going to do. But life has chapters and you move on, you grow, you get into new things, you expand. And while it may not be the best thing financially or business-wise to go off onto other things, that is really important to me. And I've never catered to one particular audience. I make the content that I feel called to make at the time that I'm making it. And if there's a time when we're into Thomas, that's the content that I make. And I think that's really important. So, even when I brought Clark onto my Lego channel, for example, there were people that hated it. They hated having Clarkman there, and those people left. And you know what happened? They were replaced by thousands of new people that loved him and embraced us for who we are, and that's important to me. But back to my goals, if that's where we're going with this stream of this conscious dump here. I need to learn more. I need to develop some new skills and some new goals in reading and learning. I'd like to develop some new hobbies and things that I can learn to do. Like, for example, a great thing to do would be to learn to make like ketogenic meals, things that are maybe low carb, high in protein, stuff that my family would benefit from, but maybe I can make videos on here. And I said in my video that I recorded this week that may never see the light of day, that I don't necessarily want to make this a fitness channel, but it is going to be a part of my life. So I may be sharing some things with that. I'm no expert by any means, but I do think that maybe there's a chance that in watching me start from the bottom and start working my way up and sharing that as just a regular guy, nobody special, maybe there'll be one person in this world that's like, you know what, Greg, if you're doing it, I'm going to do it with you. And that to me is like worth every part of embarrassing myself publicly. Maybe. The video's there. I don't know if I want to put it out, but yeah, I'm excited about that. I just want to end this year stronger physically and mentally than I started it. And maybe that'll be my goal for the rest of my life. Like I'm just like excited. I'm excited to see what comes of this, because I've seen where I have been, and I could make this year look a lot like last year, which financially was a success, just like the year before and the year before. Ever since I left my job, things have been great on YouTube. Will that always be that way? Yeah, probably not. I look at it as like a blessing, and I'm like, if all I ever got out of this whole YouTube thing was a few years where I could be home with my son and share all these amazing memories together, totally worth it. Like, I couldn't ask for anything more, but it became so much more than that. Now we're working on year 5, I suppose. And it's crazy. Or maybe I'm still in year 4. I guess we haven't quite hit 5 years, but working towards year 5 of me being self-unemployed, as I call it. And it's been an awesome ride. Like I've never been happier in my life. And just the fact that I can sit down today with you at this time, now at 1:31 p.m. on a Thursday, and to be able to have this conversation at a time that I would ordinarily have been at my job, grinding away, probably pretty miserable. And the fact that I can put this time and effort into my health or my business or wherever I see fit, I think that's pretty darn cool. And I don't say any of that to brag. I will say it, though, to motivate you to do the thing that you want to do in life. I don't know what that is for you. You should know that I should do a little side tangent here, because I feel like I'm talking to a lot of a new audience. There is a lot of motivational speak in this podcast. You may end some of these podcasts like really feeling like you need to jump up and go do something. Oftentimes, I try to get people to better themselves too. That's important to me, because it's so easy to kind of just exist, And I felt that way sometimes, but I get depressed when I just exist. If I don't have a goal or something I'm working towards, or like some type of I wouldn't say self-promotion, but like pushing my self-propelled type thing, I just get depressed. So I always need something. And I feel like this fitness thing could really work. I'm feeling like really good about it. And I'm feeling great after doing it, like getting that exercise and even just that walk, like something as simple as a 45-minute walk. I put my AirPods in and I just go for a walk with the dog. It's cold as heck outside. Like, I'm definitely realizing now that I either need to wear long underwear or get some like insulated pants. My legs are freezing out there, but it's totally worth it. And it's good for her too. I just feel like me taking this path with less of a focus on production and more of a focus within, it may be detrimental financially somewhat, but it's going to pay off in spades later. Like, I want to be one of those people that's 70 years old and is just like absolutely with it physically. And I feel like at 37, which I just turned, I'm kind of at that crossroads. Like, we're at the halfway point of that. And it's like, you could go this direction or you could go this direction, and you really have to decide which one you want to go. So I'm making this choice right now for myself, and I absolutely think that it's the right one to make, because, money's not everything. What good is making, 76 videos a week and seeing the rewards of that if you can't physically enjoy it someday in your life, And if you're not happy with where you're at. And I definitely noticed that with myself, and I'm sure there's someone listening to this that can relate to this, but I noticed like my clothes not fitting as well as they used to. My jeans that I've worn for years are getting awful tight. And I'm like, dude, I'm going on the wrong path. Like, I've really just neglected everything about myself. So I'm fixing that. And I'm really excited to see where this goes. I'm really split on how much I want to share of it. I feel like me sharing it's going to turn off a lot of people. And I do need to think about like, man, what are the long-term consequences of this? But like, this is the new chapter. Chapters change, Like there there's definite chapters as this channel's lifespan has gone. And just like I said with the Lego stuff, the people that aren't interested in that kind of stuff, they find other stuff, and that's fine. That happens to me. Sometimes my favorite YouTube channels at one point in my life, they kind of get lost, and then like other things come up, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I definitely think this could be good for me and maybe good for someone else out there. And I'm like so anxious to get that email someday from someone, or message or comment or whatever. And they're like, Greg, I just watched your 200 videos on your journey towards fitness, and I decided that I'm going to do it too. And I'll be like, yes, let's go. All right. So that's kind of where we're going. There's been a lot of other things that have happened. I've watched some various shows and movies recently, but I think I'll save that for the next episode. We'll kind of get this into like a format. I would love to do it where it's kind of like segmented in these different things, previously called Watch Attacked and Game Attacked, but I have a lot of other stuff going on too. I'm trying to balance all of these things, which has always been a struggle, but something that I think I've gotten better at. So that's, I guess, episode 1, or maybe even 111. It's one of those two of the Missing Pieces podcast. Formerly, even before that, like I talked about my podcasting. Before that, I did a show called Good Morning World that was on here, that I recorded live on Sundays, I think, which was a lot of fun. And I don't know why I stopped it. Like it existed for a while, and then it kind of just went poof. But we're back. We're back here where it belongs, I think. And just very excited to have this series show up here. If this is something you'd like to continue with, again, you can watch it here, or you can go into the podcast directory, which I'll try to link down below. If you search for Missing Pieces as of the time that this is coming out, you'll find all the wealth of podcasts that came before this, but the name may change, and who knows what else. So if you're listening to this in the future, disregard all of that. You'll find a way to find me. I guarantee it. So thank you so much for tuning in to this very different from my normal content that you see here episode. I hope it's something that you enjoy. I hope to see you along with me on my journey and wherever that takes us. And I guess we'll find you in the next podcast.